One of the most consequential midterm elections happened in 2022, with Democrats defying history, tempering their losses in the House, and gaining a majority in the Senate, and gaining more governor's seats across the country. There are a number of pivotal events that happened throughout the year that led up to this moment. Let's take a look. In January, Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer announced he was stepping down from the High Court. While his vacancy did not necessarily change the ideological balance of the court, it did present President Biden with the first opportunity to fulfill a major campaign promise.
We are on the cusp of making history.
In a meeting on Thursday with Democrats, Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal says the president vowed to stay true to his word and nominate the first Black woman to the High Court.
It has taken 232 years and 115 prior appointments for a Black woman to be selected to serve on the Supreme Court of the United States. But we've made it.
Me. I, Ketanji Brown Jackson, do solemnly swear.
I, Ketanji Brown Jackson, do solemnly swear.
President Biden appointed Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to the High Court. Although her appointment didn't necessarily change the ideological balance on the High Court, it sent a signal to President Biden's base, including Black voters, that he was willing to fulfill that major campaign promise. One of the biggest news stories in 2022 was Russian President Vladimir Putin's decision to invade Ukraine, sparking a proxy battle between the West and Russia. And although this is a predominantly foreign policy news story, we did see that it impacted the midterm elections, particularly in the primaries. In Ohio's Republican Senate primary, we saw that a number of candidates were looking to appeal to Ohio's Ukrainian population. We also saw that this was the case in other states, including Illinois and North Carolina. We've also seen Republicans talk about and raise concerns about the amount of money being put into Ukraine and Ukraine defenses by the United States.
I'm very supportive of Ukraine. It means no blank checks for anything. It means no blank checks for any other policy. I think there has to be accountability brought forth. We have a $31 trillion debt.
In May, Pennsylvania Senate candidate John Fetterman announced that he had suffered a stroke, throwing a curveball into the state's Democratic Senate primary.
As you can see, we hit a little bump on the campaign trail.
Democratic Senate candidate John Fetterman and his wife Giselle releasing this short video Sunday from Lancaster General Hospital.
It was on Friday. I just wasn't feeling very well.
Fetterman explained further in a statement he suffered a stroke caused by a clot. The clot caused by his heart being in an irregular rhythm. He says his wife Giselle spotted the symptoms.
I decided, you know what, I need to get checked out, so I went to the hospital.
I made you get checked out.
Yeah.
Because I was right, as always.
Fetterman also said doctors were able to remove the clot, reverse the stroke, and get his heart under control, and he did not suffer any cognitive damage.
I think we want to make sure that those individuals...
John Fetterman won that primary. However, after winning in May, he noticeably took a step back from the campaign trail.
John Fetterman at home, not leaving, and not out there listening to the concerns of voters. So I think the first question everyone watching should be asking is, where's John Fetterman?
And his campaign very much honed in on being a digitally focused campaign, releasing a number of memes and trolling Republican candidate Dr. Oz for his New Jersey residency and not necessarily knowing Pennsylvania and connecting with Pennsylvania voters. Fetterman's health came under intense scrutiny in October when he and Dr. Oz faced off on the debate stage.
And let's also talk about the elephant in the room. I had a stroke. He's never let me forget that. And I might miss some words during this debate, mush two words together, but it knocked me down, but I'm gonna keep coming back up. And this campaign is all about, to me, is about fighting for everyone in Pennsylvania that ever got knocked down, that needs to get back up, and fighting for all forgotten communities all across Pennsylvania.
While Fetterman received criticism and some questions about how his health could impact his service as a United States Senator, voters ultimately went for Fetterman, and Fetterman handily defeated Dr. Oz in the Keystone State. While Republicans in Dr. Oz's campaign sought to make Fetterman's health and fitness to serve in office a campaign issue, exit polling showed that various issues, including abortion access, played a bigger role in voters' decision to vote for Fetterman. In May, a gunman opened fire at a Texas elementary school in Uvalde, killing numerous children and teachers.
By the hundreds they come, leaving behind flowers and gifts and paying respects for the 21 souls taken in last Tuesday's school shooting at Robb Elementary. 19 children, 2 teachers.
The tragedy sparked the gun control debate once again across the country, with Texas Governor Greg Abbott being put under intense scrutiny for his policies and views on gun control in the Lone Star State. This impacted the Texas gubernatorial race.
We just can't take any more Greg Abbott. We lead the nation in school shootings.
With Texas gubernatorial candidate on the Democratic side, Beto O'Rourke, even confronting Abbott on stage at a press conference a day after the tragedy.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Sit down. You're out of line and an embarrassment. Hey, sit down and don't play this stuff. No, he should get his ass out of here. This isn't the place to talk this over. This is totally predictable. Sir, you're out of line. Sir, you are out of line. Sir, you are out of line. Please leave this auditorium. It's on assholes like you. Why don't you get out of here?
While O'Rourke's confrontation made headlines and gained him national attention, we saw that ultimately Greg Abbott handily defeated him in Texas, winning re-election. In June, the conservative-leaning Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, essentially making abortion access no longer a federal issue, but punting it to the states.
A federal Supreme Court ruling is expected to lead to abortion bans in roughly half the states.
We paused abortion care in South Dakota in anticipation of this exact decision, because abortion is illegal now in South Dakota.
This kicked off a chain reaction in various state legislatures and state attorneys general's office, with states quickly on the Democratic side trying to enshrine abortion into states' constitutions.
How proud I am that we affirmed clearly with conviction that we are a true freedom state, that we embrace the rights of women and girls.
Not only did California voters put the right to an abortion in the state constitution, but so did voters in Vermont and Michigan.
And we'll keep fighting like hell to protect fundamental rights. As they've continued to be under assault across the nation, we made huge strides yesterday.
In terms of the midterms, it ended up playing a very consequential role.
If we do that, here's the promise I make to you and the American people. The first bill that I will send to the Congress will be to codify Roe v. Wade.
My biggest issue is Roe v. Wade, women's health and having their own right to their own body. We should be able to make our own choices about our body.
While Republicans expressed skepticism as to how salient the issue of abortion would be at the ballot box, polling showed that abortion access was extremely important to voters and played a role in the victories of Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, the Democrat from Nevada, and John Fetterman, the Democratic candidate in Pennsylvania. House Republicans who voted to impeach Trump in 2021 after the January 6th attack on the Capitol did end up facing electoral consequences for that decision. Republicans including Pete Meyer in Michigan, Liz Cheney in Wyoming, and Jamie Herrera Butler in Washington ended up losing their primaries to Trump-backed challengers because of their vote to impeach former President Trump. Those primary losses appeared to solidify President Trump's grip on the Republican Party.
President Donald J. Trump.
Many in the political world expected to see a red wave on election night up and down the ballot. Instead, we saw really a red misting or even a red trickle. This was true in the House of Representatives, where although Republicans won back the majority, Democrats were able to temper their losses. Further up the ballot in the Senate, Democrats retained their majority and even expanded that majority on December 6th.
I'm a little exuberant today. I hope you understand that.
When the incumbent Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock defeated his Republican challenger Herschel Walker in Georgia's Senate runoff. Unlike his past presidential campaigns, though, President Trump does not appear to have the unity of most Republicans. Various former allies of the president, including his own former Vice President Mike Pence and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, have signaled that the party should move in a different direction.
I understand the public interest in what took place in and around January 6th. It was a tragic day, Leland. It was. But I'll always believe that we did our duty that day under the Constitution and the laws of this country.
They've also talked about their own potential presidential ambitions and are seen as likely challengers against the former president.